Welcome back to Melody Loves Death Metal. Happy, let's say Thursday? Thursday. I, okay. So somebody commented, I tried to go back and find what video it was. It was a couple weeks ago. Obviously, a new viewer on the channel. And their complaint was, and it was complaint. It was not a, yeah, I like your channel. It was an open complaint. So they were like, man, you listen to too much death metal that all sounds exactly the same. Why don't you, like, that's why I just stick to the legacy bands. And that is legitimately probably one of the most like criticism I get from old metalheads that watch my channel is that I show too much newer death metal, and they all think it sounds the same, or that it's just a copy paste clone of the older school death metal, which we've all had this conversation 1,000 times. I'm not even going to get into it. And my response has always been, well, I want death metal to carry on. And if we were to just only listen to the 90s stuff and never support any of these brand new bands, the genre is going to die. So that's been my rebuttal to the old death metal heads that are cranky and angry at me all the time. So today I decided, well, I could have just done another updated collection update and shown off like 5 or 6 records that I've gotten in over the course of the last couple of months that I haven't shown off on here yet because it's sitting in a listening queue right there. That's my listening queue bin. Hold on, let me move the mic. That's my listening queue bin of albums that I've collected over the last like 3 months that either I are metal or not. There's actually quite a bit of non-metal in that pile. So in terms of metal, there's probably like 5 or 6 albums that I still haven't shown off on here. And they're just all new releases, all new pre-orders that have just finally come in. Some stuff international, like you see that. I'm sure you've noticed that top album. Everybody is talking about that right now. But anyway, so I was like, okay, let's talk about this album then today. Because this doesn't sound like really anything that I've been listening to lately. It's very unique, and that is the new Vomitrot album. Yeah, Vomitrot. Emetic Imprecations or Emetic. However the fuck you say that word. Yeah. So I had no idea who this band was until one of the crankiest people I know, who I follow on Twitter, who is very cranky, hates everything new. Hates everything new. Loves to just go in and just shit on you for posting things that you like. He's one of those critical people. I'm purposely not putting his Twitter name in here because, it is what it is. But if you're very in the metal scene of Twitter, he's just one of those black metal cultists that really only prefers like the culty black metal stuff. But every once in a while he talks about a death metal album that he really likes, and it's true, actually really good death metal and actually really good modern death metal, and unlike all these other things, he's just one of those. So anyway, he posted this Bandcamp about a month before the release date, when they just had their like, it was like a pre-order that was just up. And he was like, this is actually some really good death metal this year that nobody's going to listen to or talk about. And I said to him, I was like, hey, I'll listen to it and I'll tell you if I like it or not. And so I listened to it and I was like, yeah, I really like this. And I ordered the album directly from the band. They're internationally, they're from Sweden. So I just got this in last week, so it's been months. This actually came out August 24th, so it took a really long time to get to me. And then it turns out Transylvanian Recordings actually is destroying this and put this out on his label in the US, and he finally got them in stock like last week, and it's like, well, fuck me, I could have probably waited, but that's all right. I bought directly from the band. So they're from Sweden. This is their second full-length album. Their first one was called Rotten Vomit back in 2022. I've never heard of this band. It says they're death doom metal. And I guess you could say yes, they are to a point. However, a very strange point. The members of this band are also in this band, which I'm going to take it out of the case because you're not going to be able to see it because it's a very dark cover. This is a Blackened Funeral death doom band, also on Transylvanian Recordings. I've actually talked about this band several times on my channel in the past. It's Gravikid. I don't know how to say their name. Link will be in the description. So this is their newer album that also just came out that I recently just got. So the members of this band are in Vomitrot. So it's a very different style of music that they're playing here. There are elements of death doom on this album. Definitely on the B side of this. The B side of this is definitely more deathy doomy, very very minimal to a point. Like the last two tracks of the album, I definitely have a little bit more of that slower pace of death doom in it. But the first half of this album is interesting because it's essentially war metal. So you got a mix of like war metal and death metal with a little bit of death doom, and it's a very odd listen. It's something that I'm not really used to in terms of that. Like generally, if an album is war metal, it's just straightforward war metal. Like that's what you're getting throughout the whole entire album. This is like death metal, and then elements of war metal come in play, and then we get this death doom littered in, and it really puts you on a bit of a roller coaster there. This is a generous say that this is a full length because it is 6 tracks, but it's only 25 minutes long. So, in my opinion, I don't consider that a full length, and some other people probably wouldn't either. But whatever, they're saying it is, so I'm going with it. That's what it says on Metal Archives. That's what it says in the promo stuff. So, and then it comes on, of course, a really nice green and yellow splatter that goes very well with the music that you're listening to because they really do lean in on the vomits, especially on the first half of this album. They've got some vomity sounds, like legitimately, like it sounds like there's somebody vomiting. But it's not one of those caveman, stupid, swampy, vomitous death metal album. Not even remotely close. Like you would think it would, just based on the name of the bands, and the fact that I just mentioned that it has vomit on some of the songs in the first half of the album. But for the most part, it is. This album is really fucking good. I'm just gonna say, like, I was completely blown away by it. I loved how interesting it was, and just how it's not your straightforward meat and potatoes death metal. It's not your straightforward blackened death metal. It's not your straightforward war metal or your nothing. It's like a blend of death doom and war metal death metal. Like you get all three. Really, really aggressive and abrasive and face melting and just harsh on the ears. There's even a little bit of noise elements to it. And then you get to a point where it's like, oh, this is really doomy. Wow, okay, that's death doom. And then you're like, but then it goes back to the fast and abrasive. It's just a really, really cool blend. It's very unique. Not many people are doing similar stuff like this. It is definitely for fans of people of Antichrist Siege Machine. You will like that element of this in here. Also, Concrete Winds, which is another new release that came out this year that's phenomenal. Even Black Curse. Like, if you're into that style of metal, you're going to like this. But also, if you're a death metal head who likes that swampy disgustingness, you're also getting that here too. So they've essentially merged all of these things that will cater to people that like all these different styles of death metal. And it's very unique. And I'm a fan. So I bought the album from the band directly, probably like a week after it came out. So it's been several months that I've been waiting on this. It finally came in from Sweden. And I generally don't mind buying albums from Sweden because the shipping is really not that bad. So buying from Blood Harvest and stuff, but it just takes forever. It just takes forever to get to the US. So I was a little bummed when I saw Transylvania Recordings, and it eventually got their records in, and they finally put it up on Bandcamp, and were like, here you go. I was like, God damn, I should have just waited. But yeah, there's also a CD version on Personal Records, and I think that there's also a tape. I'm looking now to see. There's definitely a tape, and there's definitely a CD version. I feel like Personal Records is the band also posted, like, hey, we're trying to distro this out more, et cetera, et cetera. So if you go to their Instagram, they're promoting this album because the band is in this band, and then they're promoting this. So this is really, really good. Again, I have never heard of this band, and that cranky ass Twitter follower that ends up getting in my For You page literally every single day. And I don't even know if I follow him like personally. I just always see his stuff. And a lot of the times he's just completely shitting on new releases, talking about how terrible it is. His favorite thing is to talk about how awful Garia is and how if that's the future of black metal is in trouble and like all these things. But then he comes out of the woodwork with this album, and I'm like, damn, all right, I'm gonna give you your props. That's a really good album, and I bought it. So, just because somebody's a cranky little son of a bitch on social media, eventually they come around and they promote something that's new, and it ends up being good. So I don't have a problem telling them that hey, this is really good. I also don't have a problem telling you to shut the fuck up if you're being a little cranky bitch. That's also my thing too. So coexisting in a world of metal. That's what we do here. Anyway, this is a really good album. I really, really like it. It's very interesting. It's not, like I said, that straightforward listen that you're expecting. It's kind of like a trick of the ears, as some of my friends have been saying. I've been sending it to them. And they're like, wow, this is not what I expected it to be. And then the next song starts and they're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. It's now going this direction. And you're just kind of like, all right. The only criticism I have of it is the length. It is way too short. And the blend, just the overall structure of the songs. They really front-loaded the fast, abrasive war metal style of songs on side A, and then side B has more of the death doomier songs. They could have probably blended those a little bit more in the album and not had them be so lumped together. And I think if for somebody who really likes that faster, abrasive death metal that they're hearing on this, and then they get to like the doomier side, they might actually not like that too much, especially if they're just so used to what they were hearing on the A side. So that's kind of a weird cohesion that they have on here. It took me a couple listens to just be like, okay, fine. It is what it is. Obviously, I think this is a record where I don't generally do this very often, but if I were to be listening to this on streaming platforms, I would just put the shuffle button on, so it would just shuffle the songs on the album, because I think that would probably, go well for it. For the most part, there are some transitional things that might sound weird if I were to play it like that, now that I think about it. No, that wouldn't be a good idea. But anyway, I really like that they do have all those elements. I just kind of wish that maybe they changed the order of the songs. I'm not too sure. It was just kind of a weird, very front-loaded, very back-loaded style of music that they were playing on each end. But that still doesn't deter me from liking the album, from wanting to listen to it, because I've been listening to it a lot ever since I got it. I was really excited to get the vinyl. The only thing I will say about this vinyl pressing, and this is something that doesn't happen very often. However, it definitely happens way more often for me with vinyl than it does tape, is that the sound quality of this is really not the best. It's kind of a muddier sounding vinyl pressing. So I don't know how many of these are limited to. And I thought maybe it was just my needle, or maybe the record needed to be cleaned, which I did end up cleaning it. And maybe I adjusted the tone arm and did a couple of other things to just see, like, maybe if that would improve. No, it's got a quieter, muddier sound to it. And for this style of death metal, I prefer it to be a little bit more brighter with more clarity, because there's a lot going on in the riffage, because, it's got that war metal fast pacing abrasiveness to it. So I didn't know if maybe I was just off with my listening. So I put on like Antichrist Siege Machine and Concrete Winds, those style, and the clarity on those records sounded a lot better. And I'm not a nitpicky person in regards to a way a record sounds, because I don't have like a super high tech sound like stereo listening room. I'm in a very small room, so I don't, I didn't invest thousands of dollars in speakers and stuff like that, because it just wouldn't make sense, because I can't put it anywhere. It's got to be in here. So it's a very, limited to a small space stereo. So the clarity of this, like the sound of this record, is not that great. So I don't ever do this, but if you're going to buy this album, you might as well just either get it get it on CD or tape, because I generally only have those issues with vinyl records lately. The tapes and the CDs, for whatever reason, and I don't know. I just my luck. It might not be yours. People often complain about tape sound. I don't have tape sound issues. Every once in a while, I'll get a dud, a lemon in the pressing where one side is completely fine and the other side sound fades in and out, in and out, in and out. That definitely has happened to me on tapes. So if you're a sound person, if you're somebody who really, really wants a good sounding album, probably go with the CD for this. Again, how often do I say that? Never often. Not probably never. This might be the first time I've ever said that on this channel. So I was a little bit disappointed in this. I did not spend a lot of money on this, so I'm not too sad about it. I'm not going to sell it or anything, but I'm probably going to get the CD for listening. And this would just be a collector's item, which again, I don't do often when I collect records, I want them to play, not to sit on a shelf. Like I'm not that type of collector, but the sound of this just really wasn't that great. And again, I cleaned it twice. And did stuff to my turntable and everything. So yeah, and I was also worried like, oh no, it's my needle shot because it's several years old now, and I probably should replace it. But I played all the records and they sounded completely fine. So yeah, I don't know. There's a little bit of noisy pressing in the beginning, and then it gets into like just kind of like distorted sound, and then it's pretty low range, kind of muddy, and maybe I just got a pressing dud. I'm not too sure, but yeah. Again, I rarely ever say that, but this definitely would probably sound way better on a CD. So I'm gonna probably snag a copy of that. Probably the next Bandcamp Friday or something. But for now, it is what it is. So yeah, that's all that I had today. I definitely want you, like, if you're a Blackened Funeral or just a Funeral Death Doom fan, this is a very good album. This is a very good band. They released an album back in 2019 or 20 on Transylvania Recordings that I absolutely loved, and is still one of my favorite Funeral Doom albums to this day. This band does it so well, and it's cool to see them just have this other band of different style of death metal that is just unique, very unique. They're great musicians. They write really interesting music that doesn't all sound the same. So that's all that I have today. The new Molder album comes out tomorrow, and that is by far one of my most anticipated releases of the year. Molder is one of my favorite death metal bands right now. Has been for ever since their conception, essentially. I'm really hoping I get the vinyl by tomorrow. It was shipped already, but definitely going to be my next review on this channel. I'm really excited about it. So may or may not have a video up tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I've been doing them like every day, getting a little bit burnt out here. So I might just take the weekend and relax and enjoy my records and not feel the urge to make a video. So thank you guys for all the support lately. I've been getting a lot of new subscribers. I must have gotten that YouTube algorithm boat again, and you're seeing my channel and you're subscribing to me. So welcome. And yeah, thank you once again for all the support, and I'll see you in the next one.